Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 43 of the Old Man Magic podcast. It is Sunday, June 4th, 2023. Thank you for joining us for Casual Cardboard Conversation. If you'd like to support us, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. We need to feed the algorithm. We need to grow. We need to make money. We need cash to move out of our parents' house, Alex. We've been going hard lately on Fires of Yavimaya. We've had 3 recent episodes where we talked about Fires of Yavimaya. We've only completed 3 of the 375 episodes I've planned for Fires of Yavimaya. We had the general introductory episode.
Quite a few to go.
We had 2 where we talked about Zvi Mauschewicz's My Fires articles. I had 374 episodes planned to cover that series. We've only made it through 2 so far, so there's a lot more to come. But I think it's time to step back from Fires of Yavimaya for the moment. Talk about something completely different.
And now for something completely different.
Okay.
So today we're going to start our review of affordable rares from the Rath block. I wanted to go back to these sets from the Rath block, Tempest, Stronghold, and Exodus, because Tempest was like the last set that I really bought a sizable number of booster packs from. And when I say sizable, I probably never really bought more than 10. Stronghold and Exodus, I think I bought just a handful or less Stronghold. I don't think I bought any booster packs of Exodus. So even though I played back in that time, I don't know the cards that well. So I want to review those cards and see if there's some, affordable gems sitting out there that I'm just not aware of. So, because Magic is freaking expensive, Alex. It's something that I'm being reminded of now that I'm getting back into it. And if you want to build new decks, you have to try to find budget ways to do it. You can't just pick out
everyone. Sorry.
You can't just pick out all the well-known, fancy, powerful rares that everybody plays in their tournament decks and their competition decks and build a sizable number of different decks to play, because it costs a fortune. So I want to go back.
Who plays, I think, wants to try out different deck styles, and I have a big list of decks I want to make. You know what I mean?
I want to play around. We've talked many times about how we were never tournament players. We're not going to be tournament players now that we're getting back into it. We just like to brew for the kitchen table, and it's fun to try to find cards that people aren't playing with and try to build something interesting out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to start doing today. We're going to review some affordable rares from the set Tempest. All the rares we're going to talk about today are under $5. That was the cutoff I had. And many of them are significantly under $5. Essentially unplayed bulk rare prices.
Yeah,
because they're terrible.
I saw you didn't even really pick too many right around $5. It seemed like you were trying to keep it to maybe lesser known cards and not pick some of the obvious things, Correct?
I just sorted on MTG stocks from low price to high price and just made note of the ones that interested me. So that's kind of just the way it turned out. There weren't a whole lot close to $5 that really interested me. I got to plug in my computer. I'm so unprofessional, Alex. Every week I forget to plug in one of my computers. So this is what we're doing right now. This is the segment on the episode where Steve. This is a good way to start too. This is a good way to keep viewers. They love the segment of the episode where I plug in.
You need a picture-in-picture that shows what you're plugging in to where.
There we go.
We can see the.
Yeah, I just wanted to wear my GoPro on my forehead or something. I can see what I'm doing. I can get a shot of my leg as I'm doing it. I'm wearing shorts today. So these cards, I don't know if any are. I don't know, actually, the ones we're going to review today, I don't know if any of them are good enough for me to want to put in any 60 card constructed decks I have. But I think there might be a slot for 1 or 2 of them in the commander deck I'm building.
I think there were some that I would even try in a regular deck. More for fun, but I think there were some cool ones in here, but we'll see.
This one potentially, I've never built a Merfolk deck, but I did look at this and I'm maybe this has a spot in a Merfolk deck. I know there are a lot of good Merfolks though. So the first one not going into my commander deck because there's no blue in my commander deck, but I'm wondering if something fun could be done with this card. First card is Rootwater Matriarch from Tempest. I'm going to zoom in on this beauty.
Yeah.
It's a rare. It has been reprinted in 10th edition. Casting cost is 2 colorless, 2 blue, summon Merfolk. So you can tap Rootwater Matriarch to gain control of target creature as long as that creature has any enchantments on it. It was pretty highly rated on Gatherer at 4.0, even though I don't see anybody playing it ever, and it has a current market price of 38 cents. So the first thing that caught my attention when I ran this card was that it untaps and you can repeat this effect.
Yes, I noticed this too, which is sweet.
There are Old Man Magic cards that do stuff like this, like Old Man of the Sea and Preacher, but I think in both of those cases,
everything like that from this
tapped.
era that I can remember, was built so that you could only do it once. That it had to remain tapped. Even like Coffin Queen, which is from Tempest.
Coffin Queen, yeah.
But
I'm looking
almost
at Preacher.
Usually has to stay tapped to keep the thing, but this doesn't, and I like that.
Yeah, Preacher's that way too. If Preacher becomes untapped, you lose control over the creature. You may choose not to untap Preacher as normal.
And this is exactly the same casting cost as a control magic.
Yeah.
And you can use it multiple times. So I think that's definitely cool. There's some potential. Obviously, the creature has to have an enchantment on it. I got a little bit carried away. I was like, oh, enchantments. I got excited. And I was like, I could just, preemptively stack up what I want on that creature, low casting cost thing like a Rancor or whatever, and then steal it. You brought up a good point though. If they counter that or somehow foil my plan, then I've enchanted their creature for them. So you do open yourself up a little bit if you're trying to combo with this.
That's what I was thinking about. So what do you do with this guy or gal? Matriarch, gal. Is there a place for the Rootwater Matriarch in a blue-green deck? I say blue-green because there's a lot of auras, enchantments in blue and green. One of the enchantments that you might be safe to toss on your opponent's creatures to then steal with the Rootwater Matriarch is Bequeathal, which I wasn't that familiar with. I knew I had seen it before, but I forgot about it. This was mentioned in the comments. Bequeathal is that looks like an uncommon to me. Does that look like silver?
It looks like it. It's kind of hard to tell from the picture, but I think it is, yeah.
I think it's an uncommon from Exodus. It's just a 1 green enchant creature. If enchanted creature is put into any graveyard, draw 2 cards.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
You toss this on their creature. They get rid of your matriarch, so you can't steal the creature that you wanted to steal. Who cares? The bequeathal didn't make their creature more powerful. It didn't give them any kind of special ability.
That's true. Okay, interesting.
The other thing is, you put bequeathal on their creature, you steal it. They're not going to be happy that you now have their creature. They're going to want to nail that creature, put it in the graveyard. That's great. They put it in the graveyard. You lose the creature you just stole. You lose the bequeathal, but then you get to draw 2 new cards. So,
yeah, that's interesting. I've never seen that card. That's pretty interesting.
You get something out of the exchange.
Yeah.
Either way. Other cheap to cast enchantments you could put on either your creatures or your opponent's creatures in a deck with the matriarch. This was the first one that popped into my head. This was the first one that you just said, Rancor.
Mm-hmm.
Just 1 green, 1 drop, pop a Rancor on it, tap your Rootwater Matriarch. You got a trampling +2 creature that you just stole from them.
Mm-hmm.
Another cheap little enchantment you might want to put on their creatures to steal. Launch. I found Launch. This has very funny art. I don't know if we talked about this before. I feel like we had a conversation about people just leaping off of a cliff at some point. So if it's not this art.
Maybe it was just a very similar card, but a lot of cards in Magic, folks.
This has very 80s He-Man animation vibes for me too. It looks like like a clip from an old He-Man cartoon.
Yeah. Especially that bottom left guy.
Launch. 1 colorless, 1 blue, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gains flying. When launch is put into a graveyard from play, return launch to owner's hands. That's that's the key too. I was also looking for not only cheap to cast enchantments, but enchantments that will come back to you. So that, like, if you steal their creature, they get rid of it, you regain the enchantment, and then you can just plop it on whatever creature they play next, and then you can steal it again. You can repeat that process. There was another one, darn it, that I found, and I wanted to talk about it in this context. And I thought I wrote it in the show notes, but now I can't find it anywhere. It was a white enchantment that came back to your hand. I almost want to just go searching for it, and then I edit some of the stuff out. What the hell happened to it? I wrote it down in the show notes. I'm gonna go searching for it, Alex. White, legal and pre-modern, because I know that much. What's the total mana cost? Mana value equal to 1. There should be very few things that fit this category. Land tax
You can
and
search by pre-modern. That's pretty good.
yeah, not all sites are like that, but Scrapfall is. There's more than I realized.
That archery training, that's a good card.
Yeah. We did look at archery training before.
Yeah.
Is this another one that comes back to you? Enchanted creature gains tap. This creature deals X damage to target attacking or blocking creature, where X is the number of arrow counters in the archery training enchanting this creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put an arrow counter on archery training.
Yeah, so it gets like, it's able to ping things, but it gets bigger and bigger for how much damage it hits them for.
Here we go. It was Flickering Ward, and I just like this because you could make it come back to your hand. Flickering Ward from Tempest. When you play Flickering Ward, choose a color. Enchanted creature gains protection from the chosen color. So that's good, because whatever you snag from them, you could give protection from whatever color some other creature they have might be. So then you have
that's not a bad combo, actually. I like that a lot.
You have a blocker, or you have somebody that can just go through their blockers. And if they eliminate, like I said, if they kill the creature that you stole from them, you pay a white, you get this back. You could repeat the process.
Yeah, I like that. It's pretty good combo.
That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. So these are things that I thought of that you could do with the friggin' Root and Water Matriarch that nobody plays and is available for 38 cents.
Hey, Unstable Mutation might not even be too bad, because if they foil your attempt, then their creature slowly dies.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but
there are worse things to do.
Yeah. It might make, Root Water Matriarch make an appearance in my Unstable Mutation deck,
Another thing I thought about. Hoodwink.
I saw you put that in there.
Why did I think about
You're just talking about using it as a... Sorry, go ahead. Never mind.
Why did I think about Hoodwink, Alex? This is in cases if you Rancor their creature and then you tap your Rootwater Matriarch to try to steal that creature, and then they bolt your Rootwater Matriarch, and you don't want their creature to be Rancored. You could cast Hoodwink to take it back.
I see. Okay.
So
I like Hoodwink overall. I think Hoodwink's a pretty cool card.
Yeah, it was just a thought, and yeah, it has other uses. Slow them down in a bunch of ways, bounce their artifacts, enchantments, or lands back.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you're running blue, so I'm assuming you're going to have some counter in your deck. I like cards like this or Boomerang in decks that also run counters, because you might fail to counter something at first. You just don't have the counter in your hand.
Right.
And if you could bounce it back to them.
And this doesn't waste a lot of your blue mana to do it,
Yeah.
Like Boomerang uses 2 blue, so with Hoodwink, you can pop some things back into your hand and save some of your counter spell mana.
And it bounces the most important stuff.
Yeah, except for
Artifacts,
creatures,
enchantments, and land. It doesn't bounce the creatures back, but you'll have this, if it's a Rootwater Matriarch deck, you'll have this in a deck that's
Right,
built around you stealing their creatures.
Yeah, so you don't need to. Yeah,
Genius.
genius.
You could also just run it in like a general Enchantress deck, right? I mean, you're going to be playing a bunch of enchantments, drawing a bunch of cards, and then occasionally stealing something. You know, I don't know, but
Water Matriarch you're talking about now?
Yeah,
Or Hoodwinked. Okay, yeah.
the Rootwater Matriarch, low casting cost enchantment idea. This could also just be run in a deck that, a blue-green deck that also has Enchantresses in it. Verdurn Enchantress, the other Enchantress, anything that gives you card draw when you play an enchantment, because you'll have lots of enchantments in this deck, like Bequeathal, Rancor, maybe Launch, maybe that white card I just showed. What was it called? Flickering Ward?
Yes.
So I don't know if this deck will be any good, but I want to play around with it. I think it would be some fun brewing, the Rootwater Matriarch. Second card, Alex. Second Tempest rare under $5 that I found in my recent review of cheap Tempest rares. This one I think I'm gonna put this in my commander deck. I think I'm gonna at least try it out. Let me find this. It is Gerard's Battle Cry. This is a rare from Tempest with no reprints, casting cost of only 1 white, which I love. For 2 colors and 1 white, all creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. It has a rating of 4.008 on Gatherer, a current market price of 49 cents. So I love that it's cheap to play. It is kind of steep to activate.
Yeah.
It's probably not as good in a white deck as Crusade. I would just run the Crusades. But in a deck like mine, like my commander deck called the Pump, that's creature focused, where I just want to do whatever I can to pump my tramplers. And for certain reasons, for synergistic reasons, I'm only running green creatures in that deck. This is a great way to pump everything. Crusade's limited to white. There's no Crusade-like effect for green creatures other than like Keza, which is a creature that I'm running, and she's a legendary creature, so I can only have one of her down at any one time.
Right.
But I could plop a Gerald's Battle Cry down early in the game. If I happen to not have anything to do on turns 2 or 3 or 4, I could just use this to pump some creatures, and then it gets better and better later game as more mana's played. And as I play out more creatures. Like this could, if somebody doesn't pay attention to this, and it's turn 9, and all of a sudden I'm generating a ton of tokens that have +1/+1,
and you have
they have +1/+1 because of Keza, have +0/+2 because of Jacques Lever. Pump them up with Battle Cry, come in with a swarm. It could be nasty. That was my thought. Don't know if you have anything to add about the Battle Cry. It's a pretty straightforward card.
No, yeah, I'm interested in it. Yeah.
The third card I found, Alex. It's not a good one.
Not a good one.
But it amused me. And
yes, this was amusing.
Yeah.
I find this amusing.
It's direct damage in green, which is always interesting. It is Hardwood Giant from Tempest. It's a rare with no reprints. Casting cost is 3 colorless, 2 green. Summon Giant. Tap Hardwood Giant and sacrifice a forest. Hardwood Giant deals 2 damage to target player. It has a rating of 2.845 on Gatherer, which is probably where it should be. And it's available for a current market price of, I wrote 49 cents, but I was wrong. 30 cents, Alex.
So this
I will say, Crucible of Worlds, baby. We've been talking every episode about cards that you can pitch lands to, put them in your graveyard, and then just play them from your graveyard like they're in your hand, like Crucible of Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
This is another card to slot into our deck that it requires us to sacrifice all of our lands. Somebody else also said, this was a Gatherer comment posted by Blood Moon 1987. posted on August 22nd, 2011 at 10:58 p.m. He said, has no one heard of Groundskeeper? It'll keep him going forever. So this is a guy that thinks like us. He just wants to build a terrible deck that includes a bunch of cards that require him to sacrifice all of his lands, and they'll never work, but he wants to make it work. We talked about Groundskeeper a couple episodes ago. I showed him to you. Do you remember what he was?
I'm trying to remember.
It was this Mercadian Masks 1/1 drop. Also reprinted in 9th edition.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'll just
okay.
show this.
Graveyard to hand with the lands.
Yeah, 1 colorless, 1 green, return target basic land card from your graveyard to your hand. So that Deadly Groundkeeper Hardwood Giant combo. Coming straight for your face, doing 2 damage a turn and requiring 2 mana and the loss of a forest temporarily every time you want to do those 2 damage.
You can also use it with Harvest Worm.
This is going in the Harvest Worm, Rogue
I'd put-
Elephant, Crucible of Worlds, Groundskeeper, Hardwood Giant deck.
I'd put in my Harvest Worm deck. This guy, yeah, I don't know. This guy, first off, he looks like Frank Zappa, kind of.
Hey.
And I think that they're like halfway in between 2 things with this card. Like, he's a 4/4, but you got to tap him to do his thing, which is frustrating because then you don't get to use him as the 4/4 really.
Yeah.
I think this card would have been really cool if they made him not tap to use his ability, and they could have just put like can only be used once a turn on it.
Yeah.
You could use that ability once a turn and still use him as a 4/4, and then it would be like a pretty neat card.
It wouldn't have been wild, even in the days of Tempest, power-wise, just to
2 damage.
have yeah, it's not unreasonable to have a 5 casting cost 4/4 that you could say pay 1 mana every turn to do 2 damage. Not that crazy.
And you're sacrificing a forest. I mean, it's not, But he would go back to playing his giant Frank Zappa tree guitar.
I liked it flavor-wise. It's just funny to me that like a giant throws a tree at somebody, but then
Yeah,
also that
he's, like,
tree
ripping
just
up
does
your
2 damage.
forests. Yeah, he's like ripping up your forests.
The tree, if you get hit with a tree in the face, it should do more than 2 damage. People get hit with trees, they're dead, Alex.
It's true.
Dead.
It's true.
The 4th cheap rare from Tempest. This is another one I'm considering for my commander deck. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to put Gerard's Battle Cry in because it just fits with the pump theme so well. But I like this one a lot too. This is one I got to think about a little bit. Elven Warhounds.
Yeah, this is a good card.
I don't know if we talked about this one before or not.
I don't think so, but I have heard of it. I think maybe we've just both seen it because I know it's like a popular card, I think.
It is a rare from Tempest. It was reprinted in the list. It has a casting cost of 3 colorless, 1 green. It's Summon Hounds, not Summon Elves or Elven Hounds. Interesting. I wonder if this guy would see a lot more play if it was an Elven Hound and it could have Elf synergy,
Yeah, you're right.
If Elven Hounds is blocked by any creature, put that creature on top of owner's library. It's a 2/2. It has rating of 4.277 on Gatherer. Current market price of 45 cents.
By the way, now it is a creature dog.
Oh, okay. Oh, I guess all hounds were changed to dogs.
I guess.
So you could make a dog deck. I've heard people in the past talk about hound decks, but now it's just a dog deck.
I just don't want to have to say dog deck a lot.
Yeah. Jackal Pup. Red-green dog deck. Jackal Pups, Elven Hounds.
You're going to say it wrong eventually.
No, I'm not. Some other dog. Those are the only 2 dogs that are coming to mind at the moment.
You definitely can't say red dog deck.
Yeah, you can. You just did it successfully, Alex.
I mean, all the time. You can't reliably say it without disaster striking.
Say it again.
No, it won't.
So the thing I like about this card, I like cards that make your opponents make a decision. So this is a card that forces your opponent to have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And people's brains, they can't make that many decisions.
No.
They run out of energy and start doing stupid things.
Decisions.
So the decision you have to make is let this guy through, or you block with it And even if your blocker kills the creature, you lose a round of attack with the card that gets bounced back to you. And if you really want that card in play, which you probably do, or else you wanted to put it in your deck and then cast it in the first place, you got to spend the mana again to recast the creature that blocks. So it's like, what would I call it? Maybe half of a time walk almost. It has a time walk like effect on your opponent if they choose to block, because then they have to spend resources and time to redo something they've already done.
Yeah, well, that's why I like bounce stuff in general. Like, it's usually pretty low cost, and it undoes, a larger casting cost thing that they've done and messes up their plans.
Now it gets even better if you can combo this with something. So of course the first thing I thought was lore. Interesting to see that lore has been reprinted a lot. So it's pretty standard part of the core sets. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I don't see a 9th, but I do see a 10th.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to the original lore.
And I was a little sad about Elven Warhounds that it doesn't work for when it blocks, because some of the cards I thought would only work if it blocks. So you have to remember that it's just for attacking.
You can lure this bad boy up. All creatures able to block Elven Warhounds then must do so.
And then you
so
bounce
if they have a
four creatures onto there, and any tokens just get killed.
I didn't think about that. I didn't know what happened, but that's what happens, I guess. Yeah, because they can't go back to your hand. So
right.
Interesting. So you could lure this guy up. What are you going to do? Make a Cockatrice, Thicket, Basilisk, Elven Warhounds lore deck? Maybe. But then you only got 4 lures. What else are you going to do? I saw this card, Tempting Listed. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right or not. Listed.
Listed, yeah.
2 colorless, 1 green. Summon Listed. Pay a green and tap. Tempting Listed loses this ability and becomes a creature enchantment that reads, all creatures able to block enchanted creature must do so instead of a creature. Move Tempting Listed onto target creature. You may pay green to end this effect. So it's a lore on a stick, essentially. If you want to build more lore effects into your deck, you could lose Tempting Listed.
Yeah.
Didn't know this guy, but there's a whole listed. There's a whole listed. Actually, I don't know if it's a cycle in Stronghold or if just a lot of listeds have been printed in multiple sets. But there's
I know the
other
blue
listeds
one
out there. Yeah, we're going to talk about the blue one actually.
Oh, okay.
So I guess when I pull that one up, I'll see if it's also Stronghold.
The listeds open a can of worms rule wise.
Really?
Yeah, I think they cause some like funky rule effects to happen. We can come back to that, especially.
That sounds too confusing to me.
Yeah,
I don't even have a grasp on the basic rules of Magic the Gathering.
I know.
I'm still trying to figure out the stack, and now we're talking about listeds. Maybe I don't want to get into this. Maybe I just want to stick to lore and Elven Warhounds. How did you come across that? Did you maybe let's type in Tempting Listed in Gatherer. And I'll just see if there's like a ton of comments. There's not that many rulings. Paying the cost to end the effect is a special action, can't be responded to end the effect. If a spell that can target enchantments but not creatures is cast targeting the listed after it becomes an enchantment, but the listed's controller pays the cost, the listed will no longer be an enchantment. This would result in the spell failing to resolve for having no legal targets. Okay, so that sounds cool. It's like you can't disenchant it if the owner of the listed has the mana to end the effect.
Yeah, these cards are very like they're good at like what am I trying to say? Like being resilient. They're hard to get rid of.
Removal evasion.
Because they hang out like in between states. They switch back and forth between states.
That's pretty cool.
That's probably more what I had in mind, than specific rules, conflicts, or problems. But they are, I don't know, interesting.
Okay, then thing to keep in mind. I like the listed. I got a fifth
Seem
card.
good.
I got a fifth card coming for you, Alex.
All right. Lay
You
it
might
on.
have brought this one up before. I don't know if we talked about it on the show or if we just talked about it off the show or if I just saw it and I never talked to you about it before. Dracoplasm.
So I feel like I brought this up to you because I know I picked up a few of them for cheap, like
Okay.
last year sometime.
Okay.
This card is probably not good.
I
But
want it to be good. And
I
I'm
want
like,
it to be good. And when I read it, I was like, I feel like I'll find some way to use this eventually. I want to find a combo for this. Maybe one day someone will, and it will be because it's a pretty unique card. So I have hopes that like something will come of it, and it's really cheap.
there's something that I would like to do with it, but it requires 6 mana to pull off. But before I describe that, I'll talk about what the Dracoplasm is.
Okay.
It's a rare, no reprints, casting cost of 1 blue, 1 red, summon shapeshifter. It is star with flying. When you play Dracoplasm, sacrifice any number of creatures. Then Dracoplasm comes into play with power equal to the total power of the sacrificed creatures and toughness equal to the total toughness of those creatures. And it has fire breathing, so you can pay a red to give it +1/+0 until end of turn. It has a very high rating on Gatherer, 4.204.
That's
But
interesting.
a current market price of 51 cents, which again indicates that nobody actually plays this and that it's just a bulk rare. So I don't know if people loved it and played with it when Tempest first came out, and then everybody after playing with it decided it wasn't any good.
Or maybe it's just a lot of people that sort of think it's fun, you know?
Could be.
Because it seemed like
I'm
think
like
I saw
that.
some comments
Yeah.
on it, and it did seem like people talking about it, you know, being like good on their whole, you know, kitchen table and
Mhm.
having fun with it, so they liked it.
What do you do with this, Alex?
Well, okay, so sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I was going to say count like a counter burn style deck where you just have burn, ball lightnings, counters, and Dracoplasm. So you got to sacrifice something to this card. How about sacrificing something that's only going to last for a turn anyways?
Yes, that's what a lot of people talk about. A lot of people mention ball lightning, it seems like.
Put in a counter burn deck, copy ball lightning before it leaves play. Problem is that does require 5 mana to do. So it's not unattainable, but it's pricey. But also it's 5 mana to come at you with a 6/6 trampler and then to create a 6/1 trampler and then to create a 6/1 flyer with fire breathing. So when you think about what you get for that 5 mana, it's not too much.
Not too much or not too bad?
It's not too high of a cost to pay.
Yeah.
So, other thing I thought about. Okay, sacrifice your creatures that aren't going to last anyways. Ball lightning. Maybe sack a creature with fading to it, but then there aren't any good red or blue creatures with fading. All the good creatures with fading that we've talked about are green. So then you're talking about a red. You're talking about a 3-color deck.
5-color deck, and yeah.
Then how much fire breathing are you going to even be able to do? And then you're going to have the right mix of blue, red, and green to make all this happen. It's kind of asking for a lot. What else can you do? You can sacrifice your opponent's creatures to this. So you're talking blue. You're playing a deck with blue in it. Steal your opponent's creatures. Sack them to the Dracoplasm. I saw this card. Reigns of Power. Also not expensive. A blue card from Stronghold. Current market price 98 cents. Two colorless, 2 blue, instant. You and target opponent each untap and gain control of all creatures the other controls until end of turn. Those creatures are unaffected by summoning sickness this turn. So, counter burn deck, where your only creatures are Dracoplasm and Ball Lightning, and then you load up with Reigns of Power, maybe 1 or 2 control magics. I mean, you could take all of their creatures. You have nothing on the board. They get nothing. Then you sack them all to Dracoplasm. And then you got a huge-ass creature that has power and toughness equal to all the creatures they had. This would be the end of the game if this combo could work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think about that. What's good then is that they don't have any blockers left. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Now this
Yeah, I like
requires
that.
6 mana to pull off. That's
Mhm,
the other thing.
mhm. I don't know. So like the way I look at Dracoplasm is that for 2 mana, I convert creatures into a flying and fire breathing creature. So that's not a bad trade mana wise, really. The downside is that you turn multiple creatures into one, which can be bad for you. Then it's susceptible to removal or being blocked. So it's kind of touchy there. I thought about using it since you sacrifice any number of creatures, you could use this to stock up your graveyard. But now again, we're talking about playing a black, red, blue deck.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to, stock up your graveyard for something. I mean, maybe not necessarily. It might just only need a little bit of black or whatever. But so that's an option. I thought I had another thought about it, but I'm kind of blanking now. I'm not sure what else I was thinking was neat about it.
There's also creatures that you just want to get into your graveyard. And we've seen some of these. I don't know if they're all. I think there's a cycle of them from Judgment.
Oh yeah,
So
okay,
there's-
that's a good call. Yeah.
The green one is Genesis, but the red and the blue ones aren't too bad either. So the blue one is Anger. You get this guy. This is some of the weirdest looking Magic the Gathering art ever created. 3 colorless, 1 red, a 2/2 with haste. As long as Anger's in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control all have haste. So
yeah, that's true. That's kind of a good combo.
And then Wonder is the one in blue. It's also a good card, and it gives all creatures you control. It gives them flying if this is in the graveyard. Again, a 3 colorless, 1 blue, 2/2 flying. As long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying. So,
but the Dracoplasm gives flying itself, so
yeah,
the Wonder would just help other creatures you control. So yeah, those aren't bad.
it would help your ball lightning fly over any blockers.
Yeah, I like the idea of using it with tokens because you take a bunch of tokens that maybe aren't enough, like as a bunch of 1/1s, like they have stuff that can block and eat all of it. But you can consolidate them into something with flying and fire breathing
and just fly over.
Yeah, it can turn your tokens that maybe have become useless over the course of the game into something better now.
Yeah.
And it can also work on creatures that have like upkeeps or cumulative upkeeps. That's kind of like the fading idea. Get them out, use it for a little while. When you're tired of paying the upkeep, convert it with the Dracoplasm.
I like it. Alex, I'm thinking we can make Dracoplasm work.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing about this is there's a card's going to come out that breaks this eventually, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like they'll release something else that will make Dracoplasm better one day.
Good.
Possibly.
Not reserve list.
No. I think it was one of those ones that maybe I picked up because I was like, it's never been reprinted, but not reserve list.
You and everybody else were doing that in late 2020.
Yeah.
2021.
But it was fun too. It's fun.
This one never had a spike.
Cards I want to play with.
Yeah, so I guess it was just you picking this up at this time then. You're ahead of the curve. It's going to happen, Alice. It's going to go exponential.
It's a rare, hey.
And fun. But we just talked about like multiple things we could do with this.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'd like to expect it. It's an unusual. What I like is that it's a very unique and unusual effect. It's a novel effect, and cards like that are interesting.
I do like it when you're playing something nobody sees very often. They just don't expect it.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, I got a 6 card for you.
All right.
Number 6 coming at you. The 6th cheap rare from Tempest that Steve found when he was searching MTG stocks the other day. Winds of Wrath. So I think this is something that could work pretty well.
Yeah, I like
definitely this. In an enchantment heavy deck, an Enchantress deck, and enchantment heavy decks with or without Enchantress. I mean, they tend to be green white. White's a great color for this card.
Yeah, in the Femaref Enchantress deck zone, this would be a great card.
It's a rare. There's several reprints, all in commander-focused sets. It has a casting cost of 3 colorless, 2 white. It's a sorcery. And you destroy all creatures with no enchantments on them. Those creatures cannot be regenerated this turn. It has a rating of 4.303 on Gatherer, a current market price of $3.99. So this has risen above the price of bulk rare, and people have recognized it for a while.
Yeah, it seems like it's on the
$2 to
upswing
$4.
here. That's cool. I like the art.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even have to play this just in like an enchantment or enchantress type deck. Like you might be able to play it in like a really low number of creature type deck where you're reliably enchanting that creature for some reason. Say I have a deck that like it only has like 2 different creatures in it, and I always enchant them with something because of like the theme of the deck.
Elven War Hounds lore Licid, dominating Licid deck. Some people might say this would be the perfect place to put this card. So I think there's definitely some options for like pre-modern era decks this could go into. Enchantress decks. White green decks, especially because of other cool green enchantments from that era, like Rancor, like Elephant Guide. And there are actually some cool modern commanders that work really well with this card too that I looked up. I can't remember any of them right now, but let's look them up right now. I don't actually have any of these cards, but I did this earlier today. Went to EDH Rec and I typed in Winds of Wrath. And then there are two top commanders in particular. They looked really cool. It would be great for a card like this. Winds of Wrath card. New commanders. Top commanders. Actually, I just looked at the new commanders. I didn't even look at the top commanders. Just the new commanders.
Oh.
So 2023. Danitha. New Benalia's Light. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 white. Legendary creature, human knight. Vigilance, 2/2. Vigilance, trample, lifelink. All these modern cards, crazy. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an aura or equipment spell from your graveyard. So.
Okay.
Calyx, Guided by Fate. Legendary enchantment creature, human druid, 2/2. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 white. Whenever Calyx, Guided by Fate, or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Whenever Calyx or an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. Do this only 1 turn. So they're just green-white cards that
I like that one.
You're going to run a ton of enchantments with. Pretty much all your creatures you have out are probably going to be enchanted because of all the synergy you get with your enchantments and these commanders. So in that kind of deck, like Winds of Wrath becomes like it becomes a one-sided creature wipe essentially. So I think that's good.
Cool.
Yeah, this one's nuts. These are nuts. Modern cards are nuts.
That's nuts.
Even this one, which is just like, oh, okay, that's good. If you compare it to 3 drops. I'm playing Miri Cat Warrior, who's like a 2/3 with vigilance for 2 green and 1 white, and that's like friggin' awesome. I think she has first strike too.
I know.
She doesn't have lifelink and trample.
Yeah, you could take away half of this card's abilities, and it would be like still good for casting cost, like in the 90s. Yeah.
I saw this guy.
I love that card, that Earl Stalker.
That's why I was scrolling down. Earl the Miststalker. 2 colorless, 1 red, 1 green, 1 white. A 5/5 legendary beast, hexproof. Earl the Miststalker gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. So.
Yeah, I saw him before. I thought he was pretty cool. I love the picture. The picture's so cool.
Enchant up this bitch. Get him nice and huge. Play Winds of Wrath. It is a really cool.
It's very spooky.
It's reminding me of an illustrator that I know, Maurice Sendak. It's like Maurice Sendak after he read nothing but HP Lovecraft for the previous month. Like this is what he would come up with. Okay.
Cool.
So I think that's a good card.
Fun card.
I think people recognize this card too. It's close to $5.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the price. Yeah.
Next card, Alex, is the 7th card we're talking about today.
7. Okay.
This is a contender for my commander deck called the Pump. It's on theme for the Pump. It's Durcal Worm.
Yeah. My boy.
From Tempest, my screen went dark for some reason.
I still see everything. I like Durcal Worm. I have a few of these in my binder. I'm waiting to use them.
Rare, no large reprints. Casting costs 4 colorless, 1 green. Summon Worm. You're going to put these in your Worm deck.
I feel like I should put this in my commander deck.
I might put it in my commander deck.
Because, I mean, people are playing lands, and I want to sit there defensively and let this guy get bigger.
That's my thought too. Whenever any opponent plays a land, put a +1/+1 counter on Durcal Worm. It has a rating of 3.606 on Gather, current market price of 113. I wouldn't consider it necessarily for most 1v1 decks, but I might play it in Commander. It has a high casting
land
cost.
bouncing. If you had something to bounce their lands, and they'd have to like replay them, and they're like, "Oh crap, do I even want to replay this land?" But I'm like, "Oh, but I have to replay the land." Darn.
Upheaval. So now you're talking about 2 big casting cost cards. Oh no, never mind.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not going to work. It returns everything in everybody's hands. Forget that. I didn't even do that, Alex. I never even pulled that card.
Never
out.
happened.
So it's a high casting cost. You probably won't get it out until turn 4 or 5. But even if that's the case, I think it still gets +2, +2, or +3/+3 when you're playing
in a green
Commander.
deck with ramp, you get this guy out pretty fast. Or in like, I like it in a black-green deck with dark rituals. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Get it
Yeah,
out
definitely. I mean, if he doesn't get killed right away, I think he becomes at least a 6, like a 6/7, at least.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not bad for your deck either. Now that you say it, because, like you said, your plan is to play defensive for a good portion of the early game.
Yeah, I like these creatures that grow over time.
Not just the early game, a good portion of the game. So yeah, you just sit there behind your pillow fort, and your Durcal Worm gets bigger and bigger.
Sit there in my mud
potentially.
hole.
In your mud hole, in your pillow hole, in your mud fort. So I'm thinking about this guy. Pretty good card.
Yeah, and he's cheap.
He's cheap.
And he's a rare too, so that's neat. I don't know. I'm happy stocking up on a few of him. I can see. I don't know if people play this a lot in Commander, but I think they should.
They don't. I looked it up on
They don't.
EDH Rec. Since I have EDH Rec.
Boomer card.
Yeah, since I have EDH Rec pulled up right now. Durcal Worm. I think it's like 0% of decks or something.
0%. Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Just
It's
how smart I am.
It's detected in 2,028 decks, which sounds like a lot, but it's essentially 0% of.
Yeah.
What is this? The 1,196,882 decks that are collated on this website. Yeah. But who knows? And we could be going in 2 more.
I think it's cool. I don't know, whatever.
I actually have one, and I don't know why I bought this. This was it was printed as a pre-release card. And I think I read somewhere that like Durcal Worm was the first ever pre-release card. So I bought one because I'm like, oh, that's kind of a magic novelty.
I was trying to find mine. I couldn't find them.
And if this is the first one that was ever like this, might be interesting to have. So I bought a pre-release. I think I read that it was the first pre-release card that they ever did this for.
Oh, really? Wow.
I could be wrong, but I'm.
Oh well, I mean, Tempest, like that era sounds right for that.
That's what I was going to say. So
old enough.
I bought this in 2022 at some point.
Holy cow!
Now I see that it's going nowhere but up, Alex.
Hey, holy cow!
I definitely bought it for under $10.
I better get a pre-release Durcal Worm. I would have bought that if I had known about it. I just bought the regular ones.
I only bought one. If I want more, yeah, I was just going to buy the regular ones. But I just saw this there, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And
I learned something.
it's an interesting card, and it's a card that I might play. So why not pick up the special edition? It's not really that expensive. Anyways, what are we on there, Alex? We're on the 8th cheap rare from Tempest that Steve uncovered over the past weekend. We've definitely talked about this one before. It just showed up on the list.
Hey, can we take a timeout? I'm sorry. There's some commotion.
Oh no. Is it the dog?
Okay, sorry.
What's going on? The dog?
The dog was digging.
Oh my God. Outside or inside?
Outside.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Call the police.
Yeah.
He won't stop. He's gonna dig a moat
All the way
around
to
your
China.
house, and it's gonna turn into a sinkhole. And then your whole house is gonna collapse. And then what?
Sinkholes are terrifying.
Okay, let's move on to the number 8, Alex, the 8th cheap Tempest rare that I wanted to talk about today. It's Vati Illidal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a rare. It's been reprinted and time shifted. Don't ask me what time shifted is. Do you know?
Yeah, it was a reprint set, or no, maybe I shouldn't say a reprint set. I think it had some original cards in it, maybe, but I mean, I remember hearing about it recently. People liked it, I think.
I don't know how big it was. Was it in like a full set, like a legit set?
I'm not sure. I'm not
Okay,
sure about
that's
the
what I don't
size or
know.
anything.
Don't know if it was like a legit set or like one of these. Well, I guess it's definitely bigger than like a.
Oh yeah. I
box
think
type
it's bigger
thing.
than those like little things, like the dual decks and championship deck type things. It was like on shelves of stores for months. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, this guy's a casting cost of 2 colorless, 1 black, and 1 green. Summon Legend. This is actually occasionally played as a commander in commander decks.
Oh, okay.
It's 3/3. You can tap them to give target creatures power, to make
toughness.
target creatures power or toughness 1 until end of turn.
So it was like a most of the way Royal Assassin.
Yeah. It has a 3.976 rating on Gatherer. Its current market price is $169.
Where'd your rifle picture go?
I'm going to pull it up soon. I like this guy with a Plague Spitter, Engineered Plague, Caltrops. You just change that toughness to 1, and then you wipe them out with any of those things. Pestilence, if you want to run it with Pestilence also. I don't think anybody plays with Pestilence any longer. People do, at least in pre-modern, play with Plague Spitter, Engineered Plague, Caltrops. One thing I don't like about this card is I'm like, what the hell is going on with this art, Alex?
He looks like the Jeepers Creepers man.
Well, I don't know what's going on with his ribs. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's not human, so that
like
can explain some of this stuff.
Like
I don't know what this muscle is. Like, this muscle doesn't exist.
Yeah, he has some severe
That's this right here. I mean,
he has a lot of separation between like the top and bottom of his forearm.
Yeah, people are definitely more buff than me, but I've been watching like a lot of championship arm wrestling videos and stuff on the internet. Like, not even like Devin Lorette has a muscle like that here, and that's all he does all day is he just goes like this, and then he lifts things like that.
He's like, oh, this is a he's been twisted and perverted by dark magic.
Yeah, it's just kind of wild. Even the suit is bizarre. Like, what's with the rings?
Yeah,
this isn't practical. This is just decorative.
Yeah, he like killed Sonic the Hedgehog and
yes,
made a suit of him.
Yeah, what? Why does this? Oh, okay, the rings. Yeah, okay. Anyways,
I think he looks like Jeepers Creepers man, kind of.
I like Vati. I'm like, could I work him into decks? Let's say I played the Rock. We spent a lot of time talking about the Rock.
Uh-huh.
One of the decks that's terrible out there in pre-modern, just stomping people all the time, are just these Dreadnought decks. People just play Dreadnoughts, Stifles, Vision Charms, and they just counter everything you do. And they go so fast that like these slower kind of mid-rangey decks like the Rock that are more creature-based and take time to build up, like, can't deal with this stuff. But What if you ramp out your vati Illidal and turn 3, it gets through? You just have them there to tap to make the Dreadnought's power 1. I mean, this is a scary thing about the Dreadnought. If the Dreadnought gets down, you have 2 turns to live, max. But if you could neuter him in some way before you get up. And in the meantime, like, he's still doing interesting things separate from the Dreadnought, and he can still attack for 3. And just wondering if maybe this guy has a place in the Rock.
Yeah, I don't know about the Rock, but like maybe another black-green deck.
Just a vati Illidal. Oh, a vati Illidal deck named Vati Illdeck.
I'm wondering about maybe like in a combat trick deck, or maybe like a slightly more passive deck. But anything really. I mean, I guess it could work in anything. Like, changing a creature's power or toughness to 1 is good in like just so many situations.
Got another one coming at you, Alex.
Okay.
I saw this card the other day, and when I first saw it, I thought, oh, did I say Vati Illidal is only $1.69?
Oh, okay.
Market price. Magnus R is another one that I saw the other day.
This is weird.
Rare, no reprints. Casting cost 3 colorless, 2 red. Summon elemental. 0/0, but comes into play with 5 +1/+1 counters on it. During your upkeep, remove a +1/+1 counter from Magnus R, or sacrifice Magnus R, and it deals 1 damage for each +1/+1 counter on it to each creature without flying and each player. It is a rating of 3.794 on Gatherer. Current market price of 27 cents. It's a bulk rare that nobody plays.
Yeah.
Man, I wrote a lot of notes
seeing
for
this card and then deciding not to buy it.
Not to buy it?
I think so. But, I mean, it's kind of interesting.
I'm looking for something.
Like, he's like a shrinking creature that detonates into an earthquake.
Yeah.
When you want him to.
Well, that's what I was trying to compare him to Earthquake. I'm thinking in some ways it's better than Earthquake, in some ways it's worse. And I'm trying to figure out where I wrote a lot of stuff in the show notes that just like, they're just not there.
The problem with this guy is that like he's gonna take that -1/-1 before you ever even get to use him. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna put him down, and then the next turn, you can't attack with him. And then the next turn, he's gonna get -1/-1 before you even get to attack.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking of him as an attacker. I'm just like thinking in decks that you want an Earthquake, and in what cases is Magnus R better?
Yeah.
So if you want to do an Earthquake for 5, Magnus R is better.
Okay, yeah. Plus, you use him as a blocker once before that.
Plus, you can use him as a blocker. But anyways, those are the main rares that I discovered from Tempest that are cheap.
Can I throw out? Let me throw out like 1 or 2 that I would have mentioned. Is that okay?
Well, yeah, these are the main ones that I saw
Yeah.
that, but then I had a list of others that I wanted to talk about as honorable mentions, but we'll go into yours.
Okay.
Give me one.
Maybe you skipped 1 or 2 of these because we talked about them before. I'm not sure. But you have Tradewind Rider is in there for about $4.
Actually, I did. I didn't pay attention to this one because I figured, yeah, he's just
yeah, okay. It's obvious
highly
because
played.
it's a known good card. That's fine. We can skip past it. How about Maddening Imp? This is a card that is kind of like a pet project of mine. I would like to get to use.
You maddening imped me before.
Did I get to use it on you?
Almost
I like
positive.
him. He's like Netling Imp, but like better, I think, because he makes all your opponent's creatures attack.
Maybe you didn't. It just has the same color scheme potentially as Coffin Queen, and you Coffin Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Did you put Maddening Imp in your Coffin Queen deck, or?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I had that in there or not. I might have.
Yeah, I think it's just a color scheme that was.
Okay.
Damn, Coffin Queen's rising.
Yeah, how about that?
Okay, Maddening Imp, $3.37. Rare from Tempest. 2 colorless, 1 black, 1/1 flying. Tap all non-wall creatures target opponent controls. Attack this turn if able. At end of turn, destroy each of those creatures that did not attack. Use this ability only during target opponent's turn and only before combat. So you lock them up in some way so that they can't attack, and you tap them at an up to kill them.
Yeah, you could do that. You could play this with something like I think like what is it, Siren's Call, or some other thing that like prevents them from attacking. You could kill all their creatures at once. Siren's Call, I'm thinking of.
I think Siren's Call does what Maddening Imp does. I think it tries to make everything attack. And if they can't attack, they die. All of target opponent creatures can't attack must do so. At end of turn, destroy any non-wall creature that did not attack.
Okay.
So Maddening Imp is Siren's Call on a stick and also in black.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
There's a lot in that if able, though. Like, what if you just tap their creature and then you tap Maddening Imp and then they can't attack because they're already tapped?
Oh, okay. Festival.
No creatures attack this
Opponent
turn.
may not declare an attack this turn.
Okay.
So that's one way. Trying to think what other cards though. There were one or two cards I saw that could combo like this with Maddening Imp, where you can destroy everything. I'm sorry that I can't remember. We can.
It sounds like there's got to be. It seems like there's something in. There should be something in blue that you could combo with this. I would think. Path. Does pacifism prevent creatures from attacking? Pacifism. One colorless, one white. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. But then, again, there's this if able written in here. If you have a creature that you play pacifism on, so the creature is now enchanted so that it can't attack or block. And then you tap Maddening Imp. Does the creature die or not? It says non-wall creatures target opponent controls attack this turn if able. Well, they're not able to because you put pacifism on it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think the able refers to that, like effects from cards. I think it refers to like if the creature's tapped or if it has summoning sickness.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. This says it combos with, I'm reading Siren's Call now, but it says Island Sanctuary, Ensnaring Bridge.
Ensnaring Bridge is like any creature with power greater than the number of cards in your hand or something can't attack.
That sounds right, but I left it already. If a creature, here's the ruling on Maddening Imp. If a creature can't attack because of some restriction or because it is tapped, it is destroyed at the end of turn.
Because of some restriction. Or even if it's tapped, it's still destroyed.
Yes, or because of, yeah.
Okay, so you could simply, okay, that's good to know. So you can simply twiddle something and tap it, and then tap your Maddening Imp. You can Icy Manipulator it, tap your Maddening Imp. You can play Ensnaring Bridge. Each creature with power greater than the number of cards in your hand cannot attack. Tap your Maddening Imp. Ensnaring Bridge is way more expensive than I thought it would be. But it's also far less expensive than it was back in 2019 when it got up to over $50.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Now it's being reprinted as a box topper in Lord of the Rings. First reprint was Double Masters. That was a big reprint, and that's when the price really started dropping, I think. When do we jump in and pick up?
It was so expensive there.
When do we jump in and get the original Ensnaring Bridges, Alex? Do we wait till it gets under 10?
I'd be happy to buy it under 10.
What else did you have? What else did you brought up too? Right, Maddening Imp.
Yeah. Sarcomancy. You know that card?
Sarcomancy. Yeah. And I didn't put it on the list for some reason. Oh, because it was just above $5.
Okay, it's right about $5. So yeah.
But yeah, I almost put I
up at the ceiling.
Wanted to put it on the list, and I just took it off because it was just over $5. But it's one black card. Enchantment. When Sarcomancy comes into play, put a zombie token into play. Treat this token as a 2/2 black creature. During your upkeep, if there are no zombies in play, Sarcomancy deals 2 damage to you. So people were like raving about this card in the comments, and they're like, "Oh, it's a 2/2 zombie for a 1-drop." And in the zombie deck, you're of course going to have zombies in play. So who cares about the damage? Also, you're playing an aggro zombies deck where you're hopefully dealing more damage, more than one damage to your opponent every turn. So who cares about the one damage to you again?
And 4 Sarcomancies, you know.
I just don't know if there are other. I haven't gotten into the zombies deck yet, but I will be building the zombies deck. I think I revealed this to the listeners previously, either in late 2023 or early 2024. I will be putting together pre-modern zombies deck. And I just wonder if there are other one-drop zombies. Like I would think there would be another one-drop zombie, but maybe not. People love this one.
I'd play around with it. And I know
I'm sure there's probably a one-drop zombie for 1/1. Is there another one-drop 2/2 zombie? That's what I don't know.
And then I know Recycle is a card that I think sees some play. It's probably right about at $5, so maybe
it is. It's just above.
Okay, yeah. So whatever.
And it's also a card that it's just below right now, $4.92.
I don't love this card, anyways. I don't know.
It's a card that I've looked at many times, and this is always what happens when I look at it. I'm like, oh, I could do something with this. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
4 colorless, 2 green enchantment. Skip your draw phase. Whenever you play a card, draw a card. During your discard phase, choose and discard all but 2 cards. I'm like, this will hurt my head if I try to play this.
Yeah.
I think it's on the reserve list. It is, which is why I always come to it and I'm like, oh, maybe I should buy some of these reserve list card for under $5. But then again, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah, maybe it's just. Do you think it just costs that because it's on the reserve list?
I think potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe also because it has interesting art. I know people like Phil Foglio's art.
But yeah, same thing. I kind of look at this and I'm like, I don't want to bother going through trying to make this work.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody ever plays it. I mean, this was reserve list speculation right here. 2020. Now it's just come back down. Maybe when it comes back down to under $1 where it should be, I'll pick up a copy.
Well, anyways, yeah, I thought one or two more I'd mention there.
I got some honorable mentions too, Alex. This is a card that I've thought about playing multiple times, but I've never played. This is one of the 5/5s for 4 mana that we've talked about many times recently. Rathy Dragon has a very high rating on Gatherer of 4. I pulled this from a Tempest pack back in the day. It's still sitting in my box.
Okay.
It's just
I think this was a big deal when Tempest came out. Maybe
you got to sack 2 mountains or sacrifice the dragon. I just don't want to sack 2 mountains right away. I don't want to sack 2 mountains. Somebody was like, "Oh, it's better than Balduvian Horde because yes, you're losing 2 cards compared to 1, but Balduvian Horde you got to pitch a card randomly from your hand. Here it's 2 mountains. You at least know what they are." But I don't know. Maybe you put them
Harvest Worm.
Maybe you put them in a deck where like all your spells are 1 to 3 mana max, and then there's the Rathy Dragons. Like you could do that in red, 4 bolts, 4 incinerates.
Yeah.
Problem is you want to put in some fire blasts too. Now you've already sacked mountains to Rathy Dragon. I don't know. I should give it a try. It's not expensive. It would be easy to take a red burn deck that I've already built that is already cheap. Just take out 4 cards, put in 4 Rathy Dragons. Take out 2 cards, put in 2 Rathy Dragons. It's an interesting one. It's sick art too. That's sick.
Yeah, I like him. He's pretty cool. He's like
Christopher Rush, legendary. So I remember the Rathy Dragon from back in the day. I didn't remember this one, Dregs of Sorrow. I don't know that I've ever seen this card. I've never seen anybody play it. What brought it to my attention was it has a pretty high rating on Gatherer, 4.174 on Gatherer. But it's so high. The casting cost is so high. I was surprised. You can get it for like 50 cents. 4 colorless, 1 green, X sorcery. Destroy X target non-black creatures, draw X cards. So this is like a big bomb of a card, which is awesome. You could use it to take out multiple creatures and card draw in black, but it's like it's so expensive.
So expensive, I know.
If you wanted to kill one creature with this, 4 or 5, it would cost you 6 mana to take out one non-black creature, draw 1 card.
Yeah.
Now, yes, you could kill potentially 3 creatures and draw 3 cards for 8 mana. But you can do the same thing with 3 terrors and 1 ancestral recall. But then you have to play 2 colors. Plus the ancestral recall is $3,000 at least, Alex. But the 3 terrors and ancestral recall, you don't have to wait and do it all at once. You can do it as the game goes along, which you might want to do with your terrors. Get those creatures out before they're sitting on the board for a good period of time. Get those creatures out of the game. That's what I was trying to say.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the sweet spot with this card is probably like X equals 2. That's probably about like what you're going to use it, how you're going to use it, anytime you use it. Because like you said, like just for 1 creature seems like a waste. And more than 2, it's getting like crazy expensive now.
2 is still 7 mana.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe if it's in like a straight mono black deck, maybe that's not as hard to achieve as I think. You get Dark Rituals, you get maybe a Lake of the Dead, you have Cabal Coffers.
Play like some sacrifices, coffers, like Reigns of Filth or Culling of the Weak, or
so maybe this could be more badass in a deck than I realized, but I think it would have to be straight black. Cabal Coffers, land, 2 colorless, tap, add black to your mana pool for each swamp you control.
Yeah, straight or heavy black.
Oracle and Vec.
Yeah, we mentioned this card before. It's confusing, but good.
Also great art. 1 colorless, 1 white. Summon Wizard 1/1, tap. Target opponent chooses any number of creatures he or she controls. Okay, so I got to close my eyes. I control creatures. I just chose 2 of them. During
This
that
is
player's...
similar to Siren's Call and Maddening Imp again. You're making them attack.
Oh, target opponent. I chose 2 creatures. They have 2 Elvis Archers on the board. I've just chosen them.
You don't. The opponent chooses them.
Damn it.
Damn it.
Okay, I sent a message to them. I've used my mind powers to make them choose their 2 Elvis Archers.
Yeah.
During that player's next turn, those creatures attack if able, and no other creatures can attack. At the end of that turn, destroy each of those creatures that did not attack. Use this ability only during your turn. So basically, you just want to force them to attack with all their creatures.
Yeah, and you're forcing them to commit to it ahead of time.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd like to play around with this card. It is going to create some like confusing scenarios, though, I think.
You want to draw them into an attack at the right time for you. When would I use this?
But you can also do the same thing as like a creature wipe. You can, because if they can't attack with them, they get destroyed. So if you use this, make them choose their creatures, and then you like festival.
Oh yeah, the things we just talked about.
Die.
Yeah, festival. Okay.
Or you make them attack with, you make them commit to attacking with some things because they don't understand what the board state is going to be like, and then it changes and they're like, oh shit, I have to attack with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. I'd like to try it.
Yeah, you could even, in that regard, you can even just tap this, make the opponent make that choice before you even play, and then play a creature card that wasn't on the board when they made that choice. Right?
Yep. That's the way I look at it.
So even just as simple as that.
Their next turn. So if you do it on your turn, they have to pick, then you can still summon a creature. You
tap the Oracle and Beck. They decide what they're going to attack with. Next minute, you play your 2-headed dragon.
Yeah.
Going to be able to block 2 people and fire breathe.
Extra sweet with something like that can block 2 things. Yeah. So that's cool.
I wanted to pull this guy up because when I first read this, I thought this was sweet. Well, I thought it was interesting. And I'm like, maybe this might place in a deck where you just want to try to do consistent damage. Maybe even put it in a burn deck. So when you don't have a burn spell to play, you're still doing some damage to them. Jinxed Idol. Current market price of 80 cents. 2 colorless artifact. During your upkeep, Jinxed Idol deals 2 damage to you. Sacrifice a creature. target opponent gains control of Jinxed Idol permanently.
Yeah, I've seen this before.
I kind of like this, but then I saw errata on
Uh-oh.
Gatherer. So I was like, okay, put this in a red deck where you maybe have some 1-drops that just aren't doing it anymore, like a Jackal Pup, and they have a bigger creature out, so you don't want to attack with your Jackal Pup anyways because it's not going to get through. So you just sack it to the Jinxed Idol, you give them the idol, and then it's like your Jackal Pup is getting through every turn because you're doing 2 damage to them every turn. There's nothing they can do about it. Because
you attack with your ball lightning and then use this.
That was going to be the next thing. Yeah, if it's later in the game, you got 5 mana, attack with your ball lightning, you use Jinxed Idol. But I looked at the card text, the updated card text. It now says at the beginning of your upkeep, Jinxed Idol deals 2 damage to you. Sacrifice a creature, target opponent gains control of Jinxed Idol. They removed the word permanently.
Okay.
And then the rulings are like, your opponent can use the ability to give this card back to you. So I originally, when I read it, I saw the word permanently, and I thought of this as a way to do 2 damage to them every turn, and there's nothing they can do about it unless they destroy the idol.
Oh, yeah.
But now they could just give it right back, and I don't like that. So
I knew for some reason, or I don't know, I guess I knew already that they could do that because that's how I was thinking of it, that it could pass back and forth.
I guess it should have made sense. It should have made sense. But
permanently.
But also I can see why it's confusing.
Yeah.
Because you see this as a sacrifice a creature : every time you see a : that's a cost that can be paid and an ability that occurs after you pay that cost. So yeah, why couldn't your opponent just pay the same cost and have the same effect occur after you paid the cost? But it says permanently. So in my mind, I see permanently. I'm like, okay, this happens once unless you remove the idol from the board. I guess it might have been confusing to some people other than just me, or else they wouldn't have updated the card text and removed that word permanently. That's about it, Alex.
That's about it.
So also saw Hannah's Custody. This is kind of interesting, but
yeah, we mentioned that before. It's like a poor man's guardian beast, kind of.
I thought maybe we did too.
Prevents artifacts from being targeted.
But it's cheap. It's on its way down. It's on its way down. You can
make something work with this. Like obviously, it's gonna protect your opponent's artifacts too. But that's coming, and they don't. You could play around that.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, go ahead.
You put it in an artifact heavy deck. You put it in a deck where your artifacts are way more important to your deck than most of the artifacts that most people play. So
and artifact creatures, so they can't, use removal on your creatures.
Yeah.
Verdant Force, by the way, is a rare under $5.
I know.
I've always been a fan of that one because it generates tokens.
I don't know why I didn't mention it. It's definitely a sweet card. I just figure. Maybe it's already.
It's been outclassed, and it's mostly just a big body. It's kind of like it's a bit of a Timmy card,
I figure everybody knows it, and
true. Yeah,
I think it was the original Timmy card. I mean, I think this was. If you go back and read that article, I think it was Morrow that wrote it, right? Mark Rosewater.
Oh, does he mention Verdant Force
on the Timmys and stuff? I think this is the literal example of the Timmy card that he uses. He's like, when you think about the Timmy, think of Verdant Force. I'm pretty sure this is going to go in my commander deck.
Yeah, I used to play this with Natural Order. That's sweet. Bust him out.
Also got a bit of I blank on this person's name every time I want to bring them up.
Are you talking about where the wild things are again?
Yeah, then I remember it. I just said it an hour ago in this episode. Maurice Sendak. Got a bit of a Maurice Sendak vibe to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also a little Tolkien art, kind of, a little bit.
Okay, Alex. That brings us to the end of our discussion of interesting rares from Tempest under $5 that we discovered when we were reviewing the Tempest cards on MTG stocks this weekend. Now we're going to talk about our Commander decks again, Alex. We're entering the Old Man Magic podcast Commander Corner. This is the part of the time in the podcast where Alex and I continued to build our first ever Commander decks. They're old frame only Commander decks because those are really the only cards we have at the moment. We're using this as an exercise to try to figure out how it is that people build Commander decks. You might say, what are you talking about? You started playing Magic in the 90s. You should know how to build decks. Well, it is different to building a singleton deck is different. That's what was kind of throwing me when I'm like, how do I build a good Commander deck? Usually when I build a 60-card deck, I find like 1 or 2 cards that do something that I want to build my deck around. And I start with those 2 cards as 4-ofs. And then I'll have like cards that are supplementary. The most important supplementary cards I usually start with as 4-ofs. And then I'll sometimes whittle them away. I'll take some of those 4-ofs, change them to 3s, 2s, what have you. But in a format like Commander that's singleton, it's like, okay, I find something that's sweet and I can only put 1 copy in my deck. What do you do? So it's been a learning experience. You have to think more about
like
synergy.
Blocks that do things,
and blocks, yes. You have to find a card
spells, so many creatures
that does something interesting to you, and you have to be like, okay, how many other cards that are Commander legal do either the same thing or something that supplements that ability or synergizes with that ability? Anyways, my Commander deck has a name. I named it the Pump. My Commander is Jacques Levert because he pumps on my green creatures +0/+2. I have a lot of other creature cards in here too. They're all green creatures. I have other effects in this deck to pump green creatures. It's going to be a creature horde deck. I'm going to try to make my creatures big, kind of going to try to make them trample. And I'm also going to try to generate a bunch of tokens that will get big and fat because of cards like Jacques Levert, because of cards like Keza, and because of cards like a card I'm going to add today, Gerard's Battle Cry.
Oh, okay.
We'll see if this guy lasts.
But
But for now, I want to give him a try.
Cool.
He's slotted into the enchantment. I'm building up the enchantments here, Alex. The Battle Cry, as everybody knows from the first part of this episode, is a 1-drop enchantment. Pay 2 colorless, 1 white. All creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So one more thing to pump next to Mirari's Wake, which gives all my creatures +1/+1. Next to Rancor, which gives enchanted creature +2/+0. Next to Fires, which gives creatures +2/+2 if I sacrifice Fires. Next to Armadillo Cloak, which gives enchanted creature +2/+2 and trample. I also got token generators in this deck, or mutation, artifact mutation, where they destroy an enchantment or an artifact, generate number of tokens equal to the converted mana cost of the things I just destroyed. I have Saproling Symbiosis and Spontaneous Generation to generate 1/1 Saproling tokens equal to the number of creatures I control or equal to the number of cards in my hand. I added Hazes on Tamar, the most expensive legendary card I've ever purchased. An original token generator to the deck. Generates Sand Warrior tokens. Saber Ants, when damaged, generate tokens. What else generates tokens? I know I have something else in this deck that generates tokens. Deranged Hermit generates tokens. I'm probably going to add a Verdant Force at some point, Alex, which we just talked about. That will also generate tokens. What am I going to do with all these tokens? I could attack with them. But I could also throw them right at your fucking face, Alex, with Goblin Bombardment. I'm having trouble spelling bombardment. If you have too many blockers in the way, I don't want to send all my tokens to their death for naught. I'll catapult them to their death, and they'll get through and they'll do damage to you.
All right. Fair enough.
I'm going to use the Goblin Bombardment from Tempest. We didn't talk about this today because it's an uncommon for under $5. Goblin Bombardment, 1 colorless, 1 red enchantment, sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So it's a goblin card, but you sacrifice anything. You don't have to tap it to do the damage. You don't have to pay a mana to do the damage. You could sack all your tokens and bombard away. I'm going to add another one, Alex. I had 2 I was going to add today, and then I started with Gerard's Battlecry, even though I wasn't going to add that one today, but then I just did it. So now I'm going to add the second card that I was going to add anyways today. Fleetfoot Panther. We'll see if this person stays in here. I need to start after those 2 enchantments. After those 2 enchantments that I added, I think I just want to go all creatures from now on. I think I want to try to get up to 40 creatures for a good creature horde deck. Fleetfoot Panther is a uncommon from Plane Shift. 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 white. Summon Cat for 3/4. You may play it as an instant, so it has flash. When Fleetfoot Panther comes into play, return a green or white creature you control to its owner's hand.
Okay.
So 3/4 for 3. I mean, ain't bad at all. And I have some things in my deck that I would like to be able to bounce back every once in a while. Like I might want to be able to bounce back my Deranged Hermit.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to be able to bounce back my Uktabi Orangutan, especially. Maybe my Thornscape Battle Mage so I can replay its kicker. Stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So I want to add a little bit of bounce to the deck and a decent creature for its casting cost.
Very good, very good.
That's it, Alex. That's all I got for today for the pump.
Okay.
We're going to move on to Alex's deck that's no longer named Alex. Named Group Mud.
This
Group
is my
Pillow.
Pillow Fort
Pillow Mud.
Bug defensive diplomatic deck. I have a lot of enchantments and defensive cards. I'm going to sit back, let people attack each other, let my creatures grow big and strong. I'm going to do some theft, going to do some bouncing, do a little bit of everything. It's going to kind of have a potpourri deck. Here we go back up. I want to see my creatures. Okay. I don't have Llanowar Elves in, so I need a few more Manimals, I think. I'm almost done with Manimals, but today I want to add Llanowar Elves and Quirion Elves.
Okay. We both run in those elves.
Yeah. And I need Quirion. I was looking at some of the other ones. I think I already forgot what it's called now.
Sky Shroud.
Sky Shroud Elves, yeah. But it's just white and red, and you have to pay the mana to get the mana. Quirion Elves will actually give me straight up a mana of a different color. I just have to pick which one I need the most when I summon them. So
I got the Quirion in my deck too.
Pop
Which
them in there.
printings for the Llanowar?
I don't care about Quirion. Llanowar is going to be unlimited. Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Not on some guy's wall.
This is one Llanowar, one unlimited above. This is one unlimited Llanowar elf that will not end up on the Reddit guy's wall.
It will escape the wall.
Alex, we need to start a project to build a wallpaper out of unlimited Llanowar elves. Let's start now. Let's get in a war. A limited Llanowar elves war.
Competing project.
Holy smokes, this thing's been printed so often.
I know.
It's taken me forever to find it. $24.99 now. You can get them cheaper. That price must have been last updated right after that guy did his last buyout like 2 weeks ago.
Well, I have some more cards tag. Can I add more cards?
Yeah, you sure you want to use this invasion printing of Quirion Elves?
No, we can use the other one, Mirage.
Okay.
I don't have that invasion one, so.
These ones look much cuter.
Yeah.
They're adorbs. Actually, they're pretty sad looking now. Think about it. Okay.
I'm going to do some theft with this deck. I think eventually I'm going to put Control Magic in, but I don't know yet. I might take out that bribery card to leave it in or have a couple. But I do know that I want to put an Animate Dead in because I can steal things from other people's graveyards.
Yeah, Animate Dead's such a good card.
And I can bring back my own creatures. And some of my creatures, since they're defensive, my Will-o'-the-Wisp, my Wall of Roots, my Wall of Blossoms. I'm not going to mind if it gets -1, -0. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I can bring my own things back, and I can steal threats from my opponent's graveyards because I might still need some big finishers for the deck.
Which printing do I add? Actually, I add a Summer Magic. Do you want to play with your Summer Magic? Animate that?
Probably revised. I might have an unlimited one, but I'm not sure. Better go with revised.
Oh, that beautiful washed out border.
I know, it's so washed out. All right, last thing. This is a card I just found, so I want to add it because I'm excited about it. This is I need more creatures straight up. I'm gonna need more blockers. I'm gonna need something a little bit offensive. This creature does both. I like it. It's going to be a pretty solid blocker with some survivability, and it can attack too. Spectral Lynx.
Oh,
new card to me that I just discovered.
Yeah.
You know this card?
I've seen it appear in some pre-modern tournament gameplay videos that I've watched.
Okay.
Pro green or something? White card that's pro green.
White, but it has protection from green, which is
pro
good.
green. Yeah.
Block lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And it can regenerate. 2/1 for 2 mana.
Yeah, it's a good card.
The only thing, the only other thing you could possibly want would be flying out of it, I feel like, but
And first strike and lifelink and and first strike and lifelink and vigilance.
Well, all I'm saying is that, it can't it's not a good blocker for flyers, but other than that, it's a great blocker. It can attack if it needs to.
No, by Omen Magic Standards, this is a really cool card.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the modern commanders that we looked at not that long ago. It was a 3-drop that was like 3/4 with flying and lifelink and vigilance.
I know, it's crazy.
Anywho, filling in those creatures. I think I'm done with enchantments and everything else. I think from now on, it's just going to only be creatures. I'm trying to fatten up my lineup. I want to have at least, I think, 40 creatures if I'm going to make a good creature horde deck. We'll see.
I'm gonna have to put some removal in. I think I'm trying to shy away from removal overall. Like I said, I'm trying to kind of use bounce instead and Quagmire-esque, effects to keep them from attacking. But I'm probably going to need something for some spot removal. I want to do some stealing, like I said, control magic. I'm probably going to put 1 or 2 more big baddies in to help finish the game.
Yeah, I think you got to put a Source to Plowshare in here, right? You got to do that.
Probably. I thought about it. I mean, I have it on my list of things under wipe removal. So it'll probably end up in there. I was thinking about one of those like symbiosis cards that you use too that can destroy an artifact and give me tokens or something like that. Like those double effect kind of things. Those are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the mutation cards. And then there's Decimate, which I like.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what mutation, not symbiosis.
Especially Commander. Well, the mutation ones are the ones that generate the tokens. The Aura mutation, the artifact mutation. They destroy, they generate the tokens. The Decimate, the one that takes out like an enchantment and a land. And
it's like red and green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I added that to my deck yet, but I think I will. Destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, and land.
Yeah, I mean, can't go wrong with that.
And in a 4-person commander deck, a game, you're going to be able to do that, right? I feel like you're going to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, especially
you definitely.
Commander. Yeah.
So.
There might even be some. I was looking at this card earlier, and I was thinking there might even be some, niche scenarios where one of those 4 effects you use it on one of your permanents.
Yes.
You want to, you
yes.
want to put something to the graveyard.
Yeah, the bad thing about the card is you have to destroy all these things. So, if one of your opponents doesn't have some of this, you have to sacrifice your own thing, but you might want to.
Right.
We just talked about those creatures like anger and wonder and creatures you want to get into the graveyard. Wonder if there are enchantments, lands, and artifacts. There must be enchantments and lands and or artifacts that also have some benefit to you if you're in their graveyard. I just can't think of any right now. But there's got to be something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
I think we're done, Alex. Which episode was this? Episode 43. That brings us to the end of episode 43 of the Old Man Magic podcast. So the one person, maybe two people out there still listening, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you made this far and you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It helps out. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you prefer the audio compared to the YouTube experience, although I don't upload regularly to those platforms. YouTube every week. The podcast only platform is maybe like once a month. I'll dump 4 at a time. But just so you know, you can find us there. I think I'm all MTG'd out for the day, Alex.
Yeah,
Do you have
I'm
anything,
tired.
any words of wisdom to leave the reviewers with? Not the reviewers, the listeners with. What am I saying?
I don't think you have any words of wisdom today.
No wisdom from Alex this week. Talk to you later.
Peace.
The reviewers. Who the hell are the reviewers?
Reviewers.